Have you ever realized that most of your problems don't really come from others, but from yourself? From the words you speak without thinking, from the reactions you can't control, and from the money you spend without discipline. What people often call bad luck is in truth a lack of inner mastery. And here's a hard truth. If you don't rule your mouth, your mind, and your money, they will rule you. We live in an age where everyone talks too much, thinks too little, and spends more than they can afford. The result? Anxiety, debt, emotional chaos, and a life drifting further from inner peace. But Stoic philosophy offers a different path. Simple, practical, timeless. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all taught that true freedom is not in controlling the external world, but in mastering yourself. And that's exactly what you're going to discover here. How to apply these teachings today without complication. If you want to learn how to stay calm in the face of criticism, clear in the midst of chaos, and disciplined in the presence of desires, then stay until the end of this video. Because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you see your life. And to show your commitment to this transformation, write in the comments, "I choose peace." Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs this message. Whoever does not control what they say inevitably hands over their power to others. A single misplaced word can ruin relationships, compromise opportunities, and even destroy one's own image. Stoic wisdom teaches that the mouth is one of man's greatest weapons, but it can also be his greatest prison. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Much of our suffering comes from unnecessary speech," reminding us that speaking without restraint is opening the door to regret. Think about it. How many times have you regretted something you said, but rarely something you left unsaid? In today's world, this truth is even more evident. Social media has turned impulsive opinions into permanent marks. A careless comment can go viral and cost someone a job, a friendship, or even a lifetime of reputation. The Stoic understands that not everything requires a response, and not every provocation deserves attention. Silence is often the wisest answer because it preserves energy and protects peace of mind. To master the mouth is to practice the art of the pause. Before answering a criticism, ask yourself, does this contribute to my growth or does it only feed my wounded ego? That brief moment of reflection creates space between impulse and action, and it is exactly in this space where human freedom resides. This is where Stoic philosophy shows its practical strength. Take a simple example. Someone provokes you at work. The immediate reaction would be to fight back, but applying the principle of a controlled mouth, you choose strategic silence instead. The provocateur loses strength while you maintain your posture intact. This is not passivity, but mastery. Stoic discipline becomes a tool to face criticism without losing composure. This verbal self-control is not just defense, it's also strategy. Respected leaders are not those who speak the loudest, but those who know how to speak less and act more. Mastering your mouth is the first step to mastering yourself. After all, wasted words are like coins tossed into the wind. They never return. And here lies the reflection. If the mouth is not under control, how can one expect to control the mind or finances? This is the turning point that connects us now to the next lesson. Have you ever noticed how the way you speak directly shapes the way you think? Now let's dive into the power of mastering the mind and how it redefines your entire inner life. Mastering the mouth is only the surface. The real battle takes place in the mind. Stoic thought teaches that it is not external events that disturb us, but the way we interpret them. When the mind is weak, any offense becomes a tragedy. Any delay turns into irritation. But when the mind is strong, it filters what truly matters and discards what adds nothing. Seneca once said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, but because we do not dare that they are difficult." This shows the power of perception. The way you see the world shapes your entire reality. In today's world, filled with digital noise and endless distractions, an undisciplined mind gets lost easily. One notification steals your focus. One comparison on social media sparks insecurity, and suddenly the mind becomes a slave to external impulses. The modern Stoic must train attention the same way one trains a muscle. Focus creates mental clarity, and clarity brings inner peace. After all, if you don't control where your attention goes, someone else will control it for you. The practice begins with small exercises. When anxiety arises, observe your thoughts without judgment. Instead of saying, "I am trapped in worry," say, "My mind is trying to protect me, but I can choose another focus." This simple shift in perception is the core of Stoic power. You cannot control the world, but you can control how you interpret it. In this inner mastery lies freedom, because the external world no longer dictates your emotions. Consider someone who loses a business contract. An undisciplined mind sees only failure, humiliation, and despair. A trained mind, however, sees learning, opportunity, even liberation from something that didn't align with their values. The situation is the same, but interpretation changes everything. That's the difference between living as a victim or as the commander of your own life. This mental control doesn't eliminate emotions, but it puts them in perspective. Anger may still appear, sadness may still knock on the door, but they no longer rule. The Stoic understands emotions as visitors. They come, but they don't have to stay. When the mind is in command, you decide who stays and who leaves. This completely transforms how you face daily challenges. And now comes the inevitable question. If mastering the mind strengthens your inner world, how does this discipline impact your outer world, especially your finances? Because the truth is clear. Those who cannot control thoughts and impulses can hardly control money. Now let's explore how financial mastery is also a key Stoic practice. Mastering the mouth and the mind would be incomplete without mastering money. For the Stoics, wealth was never just about accumulation, but about not becoming a slave to what you own. Epictetus reminded us, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." In other words, those who do not control their desires become prisoners of consumption, always chasing more yet never finding peace. Mastering money means placing limits on greed and transforming resources into tools, not chains. In the modern world, where marketing pushes new desires every second, financial balance has become an almost daily battle. Buying on impulse, living to show off, or drowning in debt to maintain an image is losing the war before it even begins. Stoic philosophy reminds us that prosperity does not come from spending more, but from spending wisely. It's not about denying pleasures, but about not allowing them to control your choices. A practical exercise is to ask before each purchase, is this a necessity or just vanity? That pause, simple as it may seem, can save years of debt and open the door to freedom. Controlling money is not about being stingy, but about being strategic. It is about using resources to build stability, not anxiety. Because what good is having more if sleepless nights are the cost? Think of someone who gets a raise. The ordinary mind turns it into bigger expenses, a bigger car, larger bills, heavier problems. The Stoic mind, however, turns that raise into savings, freedom, and quality time. The same resource, two different attitudes, two completely different destinies. Wealth in the end lies less in the wallet and more in the posture toward what you possess. When money is mastered, it stops being a burden and becomes an ally. You no longer live to serve bills. Money serves you, supporting your projects, your dreams, and even your peace of mind. This discipline generates a quiet sense of power, because nothing is more unshakable than someone who does not depend on circumstances to live with dignity. And here's the provocation. If financial mastery brings external freedom, how can it align with inner balance to create a truly Stoic life? Now we move to the next step. How to unite mouth, mind, and money into a system of self-discipline that shapes your entire character. Mastering the mouth, the mind, and money requires one unifying thread: self-discipline. For the Stoic, discipline is not a prison. It is freedom. It is the ability to say no to immediate impulses so you can say yes to something greater. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded us that the strong man is the one who governs himself before attempting to govern anything else. This shows that self-discipline is not just a tool, it is the very foundation of the Stoic life. In daily life, self-discipline means regulating routines, controlling habits, and staying focused even amid modern distractions. It means not responding to unnecessary provocations, not surrendering to the anxiety the mind creates, and not being pulled by the pressures of consumption. Discipline is what unites theory and practice. It transforms wisdom into consistent action. Without it, philosophy is reduced to beautiful words without real effect. A practical example is the morning routine. While many start the day in reaction mode, running after the clock and notifications, the disciplined Stoic begins with silence, reflection, and clarity. It may come through reading a passage from Seneca, a brief meditation, or even a mindful walk. The key is to seize control of the day before the day seizes control of the mind. Self-discipline also shows up in small choices: sleeping at the right time, maintaining balanced nutrition, studying instead of drowning in digital distractions. Each decision may seem insignificant, but together they form character. The Stoic does not seek perfection but consistency. He understands that every act is a brick in the construction of a solid life. This constant practice creates a powerful side effect: confidence. A disciplined person knows themselves, trusts their own strength, and radiates silent authority to others. This confidence doesn't come from speeches, but from the alignment between intention and action. It is respect that is built from the inside out, without the need for show. And now comes the inevitable question: how can this Stoic self-discipline help us overcome the adversities that life always brings? Because the truth is simple. The world will always throw obstacles in our path, but it is how we react that decides whether they break us or build us. Now, let's explore how Stoic philosophy turns hardship into fuel for growth. Life is not built on calm days, but on constant tests. The Stoics knew that difficulties are not enemies but teachers in disguise. Marcus Aurelius declared, "The obstacle is the way." This phrase captures the essence of Stoic resilience. Every problem is a chance to grow, every pain an opportunity to train. The challenge is not to eliminate adversity, but to learn how to face it with mental clarity and dignity. In today's world, obstacles come as layoffs, financial crises, breakups, illness, or even hateful comments online. Ordinary thinking sees these as tragedies, but Stoic thinking sees them as training grounds. Just as an athlete needs weight to strengthen muscle, the mind needs difficulty to strengthen discipline. Without resistance, there is no growth. Take a practical example. Someone loses their job. The natural reaction is despair, but the Stoic perspective sees an opportunity to reinvent oneself, to learn new skills, or even to find a path more aligned with personal values. This doesn't mean denying pain, but refusing to be ruled by it. Suffering is inevitable. Despair is optional. Another key point is perception. Two people can face the same loss. One collapses, the other rises stronger. The difference is not in what happened, but in the meaning they assign to it. This is the Stoic key. The mind decides whether the obstacle is a prison or a stepping stone. That shift in perspective is what separates those who sink from those who grow through hardship. And the more one trains this vision, the more prepared one becomes for the unexpected. Life stops being a field of threats and becomes a field of opportunities. Fear shrinks, courage grows, and resilience becomes natural. That is the quiet strength of someone who practices Stoicism daily. But there is a deeper layer. Overcoming adversity is not only about resisting, but also about transforming pain into wisdom and sharing it with the world. And that leads to a bigger question. How can we live in a way that our example inspires others to also pursue peace and strength? Now let's understand how to align all of this to live a complete Stoic life in the modern world. Living stoically today doesn't mean withdrawing from the world, but engaging with it wisely. Stoic philosophy does not demand that you abandon modern challenges. It asks you to navigate them with clarity and discipline. Social media, information overload, financial pressure, and superficial relationships are daily tests of your mental strength. The secret is not escape, but staying centered. The modern Stoic is the one who, even surrounded by noise, keeps a quiet mind and firm values. Practicing Stoicism in everyday life means turning small actions into powerful philosophical practices. Instead of wasting energy on pointless arguments, you choose silence. Instead of complaining about every setback, you train patience. Instead of trying to control the uncontrollable, you focus on what is truly in your hands. Each choice, each gesture, each response is an opportunity to apply Stoic lessons, as if Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus were reminding you. Take care of what is yours to control and accept the rest with serenity. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent, but cultivating emotional balance. A parent facing financial struggles can use Stoic discipline to prevent despair from consuming the household. A young person receiving online criticism can use a trained mind to remain unshaken by shallow opinions. These are real examples of how Stoic philosophy fits perfectly into a world that thrives on excess and constant stimulation. By living stoically, you not only find inner peace, but also become a reference point for others. People notice the quiet strength of someone who doesn't react with despair, who stays calm in the storm, and who acts with coherence when others lose their way. This silent example is more powerful than any speech because it inspires without persuasion. Living with Stoic wisdom in the modern world is an act of resistance to chaos, to haste, to superficiality. It is choosing depth in a shallow world, calm in an anxious world, and discipline in an impatient world. That daily choice is what separates those who drift with external currents from those who build strength within. Now that you've seen how mastering your mouth, your mind, and your money can completely transform your life, it's time to put it into practice. Stoicism is not just a set of nice quotes to memorize, but a manual for living, a philosophy of daily action. Every time you hold back an unnecessary word, every time you choose calm instead of anger, every time you save instead of spending on impulse, you are reshaping your destiny. Real power isn't in shouting louder, but in remaining silent when everyone expects you to explode. It isn't in owning more, but in being free from what you own. It isn't in avoiding problems, but in facing them with clarity and discipline. This is the quiet strength that builds respect, trust, and above all, inner peace. And when you live this way, you not only transform your own life, but also inspire those around you. So I leave you with a question. Which of these practices will you apply today? Will you start by mastering your words, training your mind, or organizing your finances? Share your answer in the comments because your example might inspire someone else on this same path. And remember, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with a friend. The challenge is set. Choose to live stoically from this day forward.